Thanks for the introductions. I will spend the next about 30 to 40 minutes to give an overview about the cybersecurity issues that arise during this period of social distancing. And I also do an overview about some of the developments in the cyber hygiene, which aims to ensure enhancement or improvement of the cybersecurity environment. So then I will talk about some of the possible recommendations for improving our cybersecurity environment. And then after that, I will pass the time to Albert for him to share some of the experience that he came across in this industry. Let me start my slides. Here we are. Okay, so this is about my topic on the cyber hygiene for interactions during social distancing. Of course, I've been working on cybersecurity for many years as a researcher. And this talk is not a research discussion. It's more like a awareness and more general knowledge on the cybersecurity. And I came across the idea of doing this webinar because of my own experience. We've been doing lots of collaboration with government agencies and financial institutions. And in the past, when we have we need to exchange data or document, we tend to have physical meetings once in a while, and then we copy the data where we physically meet. But in the last few months, we knew that we can't have physical meetings, but our research cannot stop. So I've been thinking, this is really how to maintain the e-interactions at a time of social distancing. And yet we knew that in physical interactions, we have the pandemic issues, but how about in e-interactions? What are the cybersecurity issues that we have to deal with? Now, so what are some possible issues arising from a flexible work arrangement? We all know that nowadays, lots of people are working from home, and we are allowed to have very flexible work arrangement. So with this, we even can see organizations which allow their employees to bring the company's equipment or PCs back home in order to continue the work while work from home. So with this, of course, first transporting the work device. If there's any in the process, if there's any loss or stolen of such devices, it may lead to leakage of sensitive data. And of course, the other ones that people are more familiar with is BYOD, bring your own device. And this one, the issues is not specific to the recent situation. It's been an issue for the past 5 years when BYOD became more widely adopted. Another one that is more relevant recently is, again, because of this recent development, on one hand, organizations allow employees to bring even a desktop, not just a laptop, even to bring a desktop back home and allow remote access to company data. So with this, a lot of this traditional, what we call the enterprise network security, perimeter network defense, all this became a lot more volatile because of this new arrangement. And of course, the usual way to allow this to happen is to do virtual private network or the VPN. But for big organizations, this can be done. Like in NTU, we work from home, and whenever we need to access sensitive data, we need to use the VPN, otherwise we cannot connect. But for smaller organizations, smaller business, later on we'll show some of the latest statistics about security issues of smaller business. So smaller business may not have the capabilities or resource to set up the virtual private network. And therefore, remotely accessing the company data may become a challenge. And also, when it comes to transmitting data, where even we talk about business proposal, we talk about price list, we talk about customer list. These are sensitive information to companies. So in the absence of in-person meeting, business need to institute secure ways of transmitting documents or data online. For example, through encrypted emails or things like that. But the question is, people are so used to use not so secure email. And in fact, most people will have this experience. It may not be very explicit to you, but I believe most people will have this habit. Whenever it comes to, when there's a discussion, whenever there is it comes to a very sensitive topic, then they will say, let's talk when we meet. So that means people are aware of the need for keeping communication secure. If it's over the internet, over social media, over the phone, whenever there is sensitive materials or information, people tend to have the habit, let's talk when we meet. So people will resort to physical meetings as the security of last resort. But with this social distancing, we are no longer allowed, or it will not be as convenient to have such meetings. So, but business or interactions still have to go on. So we start to explore ways of protecting our data, and yet this type of encryptions or protections need to be done very easily, because from our experience in the past, ease of use is usually the most important criteria to the users of encryptions. As I always say, if you look at encryption algorithms, it's nothing new, it's nothing that challenging. The algorithm itself is pretty easy. The difficult part is how to make it easy to use. And with all these security controls, with all the key managements, if you're in this field, you realize there are lots of jargons about how to protect or how to do encryptions. And by going through the whole checklist, the simple step of encryption becomes extremely complicated, and lots of people will try to forgo about doing encryptions. So this is another issue of transmitting sensitive data electronically for supporting these secure e-interactions. And we also see people need to be protected against some of these COVID-19 related scams. Nowadays, we see lots of emails impersonating as someone that you trust and tell you what are the issues of the organization related to COVID-19, and ask you to click to get the latest advisory, instructions, guidelines, and things like that. Some could be scams. And once you click, you may get some virus or malware. So these are some of the issues that people experienced recently because of the current situation. And so what are some of these cyber risk factors, which is related to some of the things I mentioned earlier? First, if you work from home, you need to access the internet from home. Most people access the internet from home using the home Wi-Fi. But how many people are aware of the security risk of the home Wi-Fi? How many people actually chose the Wi-Fi password? How many people actually chose the security protocols or settings of their home Wi-Fi? Not many. Usually it's when someone install the access point for you, they will configure everything for you. I have seen a number of friends, their home Wi-Fi password is easily 1234567 or the name, the SSID of the access point or their Wi-Fi is also very standard, something like TP-LINK or something like that, or my Wi-Fi or something like that. And then with the passwords 1234567 And so one thing that we need to be aware of as a risk factor in this work from home is the increased risk of employees accessing sensitive data through unsecure or unsafe Wi-Fi networks. The other is the employee using the personal devices that lack corporate control to perform work may not be equipped with the kind of device management software. What it means is like if it's a device that is issued by your company, and if they have this device management software, and if you happen to have the device being lost at the MRT, for example, the company can do a remote erase of your device once it is switched on. So these are some of the security measures that will be available if it's a company issued device, but may not be available if it's a personal device. The other is the online collaboration tools. There's increased adoption of online video communication tools like what we are doing now, but this type of tools typically collect personal information such as your locations, your operating systems, your IP address. These are informations that first, it could potentially relate to your privacy, and second, could potentially be useful to hackers for them to know your operating systems, your IP address, your device type, so that the hacker, if they get hold of this information, will be able to do more targeted attack of your device. And sometimes this tool may even contain software bugs or backdoors that could put the users at risk. And the other point that people also have been asking is, when we use this type of online communication tool to do meetings, is it as secure as a physical meeting? Is it end-to-end encrypted? Meaning that if in this case, we are using a online video platforms to do this webinar. If I show this video, end-to-end encryption means it's encrypted at my desk and it's decrypted at all your laptop or your desktop. And everything in the server, in the infrastructure will not be able to see anything. So that is the end-to-end encryptions. So this is something that people always need to pay attention to or have to ask about. The other one is, like what I mentioned, there are also lots of COVID-19 phishing campaigns with which cyber criminals attempt to exploit the pandemic by creating malicious websites or sending emails designed to look like they are from legitimate organizations with information about COVID-19. Especially nowadays, there are lots of new websites, new apps that talk about global statistics on COVID-19. So if you are curious about the global statistics, you download the app or you go to those websites, you may easily get hit by malware. So these are some of the news that was reported regarding some of this online tool that people heavily rely on in the last few months for the meetings. So I'm not going to repeat it here. I can make this slide available through the NTC website, but this is just a recap of some of the recent news about security issues related to online video conference platform. Now, for example, previously about 3 months ago or 2.5 months ago, there was news about hackers entering a video call without authorizations by just being able to guess the meeting ID correctly, because the meeting ID number is randomly generated, but it's not truly random, so it could be predicted. So someone who is able to guess the ID number will be able to enter the video call, and then all sort of communication security will be in vain. And also there could be security flaw in the app that could lead to website hijacks of the camera. And also the app may send data about a user's time zone and the city, as well as details about the user's device to the social media. So these are some of the things that was reported in the last few months. As you can see here, these are all in early April to early May. And even in Singapore, we also saw some of these advisories or alerts about issues during this period of time. With the fact that there's uptick in the number of cases involving cyber criminals attempting to capitalize on the COVID-19 to steal personal information and credentials. And there could be fake contact tracing apps, and there are also some of these may involve malware that eventually becomes a threat that proliferates across many industrial sectors. So all this latest development in the last 2-3 months has been reported in the news. As I said, this is not a research talk. This is to bring awareness about the cybersecurity issues and give some suggestions about what are the key things to look into. As I promised earlier, few days ago, I also received this cyber landscape report from the government agencies, from the cybersecurity agency. It's released last week. Let's look at some of these issues as a trend in Singapore. I mean, we talk about all this going online, work from home, having more reliance on devices and the internet, basically doing things remotely online. And then we also talk about some of the cybersecurity issues that we need to highlight and that was reported in the news. Now let's look at even before the COVID-19. This is an overview of the cyber threat in Singapore in 2019. That means even before the COVID-19. It's already quite serious. You look at phishing. There was 47,500 phishing URL with a Singapore link were detected. And also website defacement is not too bad. It's less than 900. Ransomware, 35. And look at, just now we also talked about some of the fake or online scam, sending email about COVID-19 advisory that pretend to be from an authority. So which are the commonly spoofed government organizations like ICA, MOM, SPF? Typically, these are places where when they contact you, you will listen. Then look at command and control. If you're not a cybersecurity practitioner, you may question what is command and control. This is actually how malware works. Usually, let's say if your PC, your server, your laptop is infected with malware, the malware will stay in your PC. It may just wait for some command from a control center, from the originator or the real hacker to tell the malware what to do with your laptop, with your machine. So this is the command control. That means the malware quietly go to your PC first, and it won't do anything until it receives a command from the originator of the malware. So it's also quite serious. So these are the kind of cyber threat in Singapore last year. And that's why we can imagine in the last few months when more and more people rely heavily on online communications, make heavy use of the cyberspace as a medium or as a platform for doing their business or their work, we should expect these numbers to worsen. So these are some of the published statistics about cyber crimes in Singapore. So that's why this is just to highlight to you that even before the COVID-19, the issue has been around. And that's why when we saw this trend of more work from home, more using your home device to continue with your work by remotely accessing the company data, and or you even move the company device to your home and copy your company data to your home, then we start to ask whether this type of e-interactions need a better way to protect, or at least we need to educate people about the manner of their E-interactions when it comes to cybersecurity. So what could be good cyber hygiene? From the end user's perspective, I highlight some of the what we call the cyber hygiene for ordinary users. First is, of course, back up your data regularly and securely. Second, remember to wipe your device before you dispose it. We saw lots of people, when they dispose the device or handphone or laptop, they just dispose. In fact, all the data is still inside. Even if you delete, it could easily be possible to use a forensic tool to recover all your deleted files. We have seen a few years ago, there was a celebrity who deleted all his personal photo from the hard disk and sent to the service center for service work. And the engineer at the service center used a forensic tool to recover all the deleted photo and post it on the internet. So what I would like to highlight is be more cautious when you make use of your device to deal with company data, sensitive data. And it is not just as simple as when you don't need it, you delete it or you dispose it. So you need to handle carefully. The other is identity theft. Sometimes if you're contacted via an unsolicited call or message, do not disclose your personal information. Now this becomes very important because nowadays when you do phone banking, for example, or some of these government services, they will ask you a few security questions. Usually first thing is about your NRIC. Second is about your birthday. Third is usually your mother's maiden name. So this, in the past, you thought is personal data. Now becomes security credentials or security parameters. So this, you also need to be careful. That's why sometimes when I receive a call from the bank, I remember as recent as about 2 months ago, is regarding my credit card payment. Because of COVID-19, they didn't receive my payment in time. They call me. The first thing is they want to verify my identity, ask me all these questions. So I told them, can I verify your identity first? Can you tell me half of the info about myself? Then I tell you the other half. So that's how we agree to continue the conversation. Because sometimes even though you expect a call from the bank and you so happen to receive a call from the bank, that could be the situation that you got into this identity theft. And then make use of antivirus software, or what we call the endpoint protection software, so as to make sure that if there's any connections to the internet, you don't need to worry about hackers trying to continuously probe your machine. Now, this is quite real. We have a lab doing cybersecurity. We connect a few devices to the internet, and then we do a monitoring. And we record about 100,000 attempts to attack our device per day. And over about a month, we collected more than 1 million malware that try to infect into our device. So that means whenever you connect your machine to the internet, of course, you can go out to visit other websites, to go out to see things that you want to see. But this connection will also allow other people to come to your machine to see what they want to see. So that's why some kind of PC firewall or endpoint protection will be useful. The other is password practice. Set a strong, unique, and complex password. Now, this is the part that kills most people. Unique and complex passwords. And nowadays, we easily have 5 email accounts, 5 internet banking accounts, 5 social media accounts, all together, and another 5 airlines and travel agent account. everyone easily has 30 different passwords, and every password needs to be unique and complex. Who can remember? No one can remember. If you don't remember, most people, what will most people do? Write down on a piece of paper and just paste on the screen. I've seen that quite often when I have meetings in some companies. When I was on my way walking to the meeting rooms, I could see lots of post-it pasting on the screen, writing some cryptic words. I believe those are passwords. So this is again a balance between security and convenience. And also because of that, a few years ago, I wrote an encryption mobile app so that all these passwords I cannot remember, I will encrypt it using my mobile app because it's encrypted, so I don't need to worry about stolen device. So this is a way to help encourage people use a stronger password and yet help maintain certain level of ease of use. The other was online behavior, like avoid sharing or storing personal information on social media. Well, I usually don't use social media, but sometimes I use just for the purpose of communicating with students, or when I want to study their security features. What I want to say is don't share or store personal information on the social media. And the other thing, just as a side note, if you like to post your photo on social media, make sure you disable the GPS of your camera. Reason: if you take some photo from your home, take some photo from your school, from your office, or from your children's school, and if you don't disable the GPS of the phone camera, every photo is tagged with the location where the photo was taken. And if you post this to the social media, people who download all the photos will be able to locate where you live, where you work, where your children study. And you can imagine it can quickly become a physical security issue. So these are some of the what we call social hygiene for ordinary internet users. And so these are some of the checklists that people should do when they use mobile devices as well, because most people thought that smartphones are relatively safe and not prone to cyber attack, but this is simply not true, especially because nowadays our phone is stored with a lot of valuable information and becomes a useful target for the cyber criminals. And that's why cyber criminals are investing into fake mobile app. So what you usually do is download apps only from the official app stores. And also you check the developers' informations and also pay attention to the security permissions you give to the app. If the app asks you for all the information from the phone, then you think twice before you give the permission. So just now we talked about as a user, normal user, man in the street. These are the checklist you have to pay attention to. Now, this is an overview about the organization perspective. If you're running even a small SME or a startup, these are the things that you should pay attention to. First is to know your asset. What are the IT device data that you have in your organization? Know them and allow only authorized software to work, and remember to patch or update your devices regularly. And the other thing is give the right admin passes. So these are the important things that you need to pay attention to. And nowadays, even for, let's say in NTC, because we deal with student data, for example, we also follow or observe this type of perspectives when it comes to protecting our data. If you are running a startup or a organization or a business, be it big or small, so always remember there is a need for enhancing the security protections. and in general we call this the cyber hygiene. So even the monetary authority last year, few months ago, less than 1 year ago, also issued a set of legally binding requirements that financial institutions must take to mitigate the risk of cyber threats. And in this diagram, we highlight a few of these requirements around this the cyber hygiene notice, including applying security patches, adopting security standards, protecting the network through defense, perimeter defense, malware protections, multi-factor authentication, and things like that. And these requirements aim to ensure financial institutions or relevant entities strengthen their cyber resilience and secure and protect their IT systems from cyber attacks. So these are more from the organization angle and specifically for financial institutions. By now you realize, in fact, social hygiene is a concept that's very important to different organizations, different people at different level. It could be as basic as the layman end user, or to what we usually call this a critical service provider like financial institutions. So these are the details. I will not read it here, but as I promised, I will put these materials available at the NTC website so that you can look at it further details. And if you're interested, you can even download this document from the Monetary Authority's website. Okay, so just now we talk about the issue of cyber hygiene when we have e-interactions nowadays, because we can't have physical interactions. And then we look at what are the security issues. And then we look at even before the COVID-19, our cybersecurity landscape already have all these issues exist. And we can only expect the issue to worsen during this period of time. And then we look at some of the guidelines and policies and tips about how to enhance our cybersecurity as an individual or as a business owner. And now we look at some of the technologies that could be useful. Encryptions and the role of privacy-preserving technologies. Exactly 1 month ago, I gave another talk on privacy-preserving technologies. So today I won't talk much about the privacy-preserving technologies. I can talk about the encryptions. As I mentioned earlier, I build mobile app to encrypt all my password. I build mobile app to encrypt all the important documents that I store on my phone. Because nowadays, people like to ask for my passport copies, my NRIC copies, my degree certificate, all sorts of copies. And I need it accessible, so I need to store on the phone. But as I mentioned earlier, we can't trust the phone that much because it's a good target for attack. And also when you lost your phone, all data will be gone. So that's why I took the trouble to build an encryption app to encrypt all the sensitive data on my phone. So that's the background of why we pay a lot of attention to encryptions. So we can look at enhancing security via encryption. It's important to encrypt sensitive data stored on or sent over the internet to ensure it remains hidden from or inaccessible to unauthorized users. Now, encryption will enhance the security of the data in storage as well as communication between users, client apps, and servers. As I mentioned, nowadays we see encryption being used almost everywhere. Your mobile phone, your website, your browser, your laptop, everything is embedded with certain degree of encryption. Just matter of whether the encryption is meeting your needs. Because encryption is not a one-size-fits-all technologies. And of course, it's the same encryption whether it's a browser or web server or mobile phone or PC. But how you apply, how you adopt, how you configure will directly affect the security strength of the protection. So there are some of the major encryption methods and use cases. As I mentioned, here we have some of the most widely used encryption techniques like RSA, AES, or triple DES. And some of the widely used software that we are familiar with that make use of encryptions all the time, including your email, online payment, database, or even your browser. So all these things are adopter or users of encryptions. But this is what I usually call the generic encryptions. That means it doesn't care what you do, just encrypt. But the problem is, if you encrypt everything, it tends to be inefficient. So sometimes because of its inefficiency, so they like to disable it, becomes no encryption. So sometimes we call this application level security becomes important, because then I can decide what to encrypt and what not to encrypt. So for example, on my phone, I have two apps. One is the normal note app. For non-sensitive thing, I just write it there. But I have another app that is an encrypted app. For sensitive informations like all my internet banking password, I encrypted in the encryption app. So the other one is the privacy preserving technique. For the interest of time, I will not read this out. But this is basically a recap of what I introduced 1 month ago when I talked about privacy preserving technologies. But to conclude, before I pass the time to Albert, the legally binding requirements will ensure organizations take concrete steps to improve their cyber resilience and keep critical information infrastructure protected against cyber attacks. And there's emerging technologies like privacy preserving technologies can enable new forms of data sharing and computations that ensure proper data usage and confidentiality. Now, prior to the onset of the pandemic, attackers had to plan their attacks for a diverse range of interests to target potential victims. Now, that's why in the past, you always, when you read about news of cyber attacks, you always read about spam email talking about there is a lucky draw, or spam email about a big inheritance of a corrupted officials from some countries. Then they want you to help. So these are the type of topics to attract different types of people. Now with COVID-19, the good thing is because everyone's interested in it. So whenever you receive it, let's say it's look at the latest global statistics about COVID-19, then if you're curious, you just click and then you go to malware. So that's why this situation makes the attacker easier. So during this period, there's a common theme for bad actors to take advantage of to mount the cyber attack. So as a result, it's ever more important to maintain good cyber hygiene so as to stay safe online and reduce the risk of becoming a victim of cyber crimes. Okay, so with this, I end my portion of the talk on the cyber hygiene for E-interactions. Now, I pass my time to Albert. I have known Albert for many years. We started from the same university, but different units of the universities. I was in the academic department, he was in the research institute. We were both doing security-related work, and later he joined the financial institutions and remained in the universities. And later we both did a startup. So we both have the startup experience, both in the cybersecurity space. And that's why I think it would be good for Albert to share with us some of the experience that he came across when it comes to stories about why encryption is needed. What are the issues if encryption is used, is applied without much planning or thinking. So with this, I end my session, my slides, and I will pass the time to Albert.
My name is Albert Ching. My email address is there. Okay, so my talk kind of follow on what Prof Lam has mentioned about some of the best practice and issues, right? So how we can address them during the remote work arrangement. A little bit about organization, okay? Like I said, like Prof Lam said, we started on the startup, many years back. So we have organization around 20 years old. We are operating in many countries across Asia Pacific. And we're around 160 people. and we do security. We got digital security related to authentication and mobile security. And then we also focus on Internet of Things, something related to IoT. And then we've been well recognized by many world-renowned organizations like Gartner, Cybersecurity 500, and so on and so forth. And of course, we have many customers, okay, across the world, okay. So many of them are financial institutions. That's why we have chance to work with a lot of these critical infrastructure services providers, right? We do see a lot of incidents in terms of hacking, in terms of cybercrime. I think under the COVID-19, right, the situation is getting worse. I can share one of my personal experience that happened not long ago. In fact, it happened last week. Somebody called me up, okay, on my mobile phone. They tell me that they're from Singtel, okay? Then, of course, just like Prof Lam, right, I'll do the same thing. I do a mutual authentication. How do I know that you're calling from Singtel? Okay, they keep talking that, oh, I noticed your home computer had lodging a lot of traffic. Look like you've been hacked. Okay, then ask him, what's your employee ID? Okay, what's your phone number? He didn't say anything, he paused, okay? Okay, and then come back to me, say some employee, from the employee ID anyway. And then ask him, can I have your supervisor's name and phone number? And then ask him, you're in Singapore, right? Where's your call center? Okay, she keep silent. And then I said, I have no time to talk to you now. I'm also very nice, very gentle, right? I didn't scold him. Can you call me back after work when I'm at work now? Can you call me back when I return to my home? The call never come back. But just an example, right? People are getting a scam, you know, like myself is. I mean, like I said, we are very security conscious because we deal with all these methods day in, day out. For someone like my wife, right, you could tell, oh, blah blah blah. Okay, so the point is, the situation is getting worse. Okay, like what Lam mentioned earlier, right? In COVID-19, right, really changed the way how we communicate, how we work, and in fact, we entered something called new normal. Okay, from the cyber hygiene perspective, we look at a few areas. I'm not going to repeat what Prof Lam mentioned, right? I think there are many issues to deal with. Okay, like secure access, home device, Wi-Fi, how you authenticate when you work with third party, what do you do? Phishing. It happens all the time. Okay, for interest time, right, I'm only focused on the application security on the endpoint device. I want to show you, okay, how bad it can be. In fact, it's very bad. Okay, I'll show you some of the security vulnerability trend in Android, iOS, and Windows. These are things that we do every day. But I show you the situation is not getting better. In fact, it's getting worse. Okay, you like to discuss other topics, right? That I highlight here. Please feel free to drop me an email, or we can discuss after the talk. Okay, let's see. Let me start off to show you what the latest situation in terms of system vulnerability in the Android platform. I don't know how many you run Android, right? I have, for myself, right, I have 4 different devices. Okay, I have 3 Android and a few iOS devices as well. So less than 2 weeks ago, you know, Android has banned 30 software. For those have not seen this news, right, I encourage you to find out more detail, right? Those 30 software are bad, okay? How bad, right? I'll show you how they do it, okay? Unfortunately, okay, where we get the software from? Google Play. If Google Play cannot detect those errors, what about you? Okay? And do you know how many downloads have been done? More than 20 millions. Guys, how bad? It's really bad, okay? You think about this, right? It's not the software installed. The bad one to install can affect all the softwares on your mobile phone. Okay, let me show you a video, okay? Let me kind of walk you through what's happened, what you see here. What you see here, right, is a malware. Okay, of course, right, like Prof Lam mentioned earlier, right? Some of the function right now triggered by hand, but in fact, I can trigger from a bootlet. I can trigger from a remote computer. So I'll show you how the bad ones can infect the good one. I'll show you here, right? No jailbreak, low rooting, launching the software. We can do a real-time attack. What this malware can do, it can read all your screen, that means whatever you key, what you type, upload it to a server. I'll demonstrate to you in front of you is how bad, okay? Let's start. Okay, you see the malware, right? I said I'm going to do a screen reader, so I enable it. It can be done remotely. So I say enable the feature. Okay, turn it on. Okay, and I just pick a software I want interested. I'm usually one software. Okay, so sorry, I didn't want to tell you the company name. Okay, so we just tag this name in Thai. Okay, so you know which company. So you can see that, right? Already I type user ID, password. The devil, right? You can see all the information. Okay, of course, I can do it in silent and upload this to a server. Do not known to you. Okay, so after I upload to the server, right, I can see the information. Bingo, you see that? Magic. But how bad is very bad. That means if you don't do all this hygiene, right, that could affect you. Okay, now this one is keystroke. What about screen? I like to do a lot of things, right? What happened? Okay, same thing again. No jailbreak, no change to source code, and then real-time attack. I can read your screen. Okay, let's see. Same thing, right? I start the malware on the mobile phone being infected. Okay, I run the same software. Okay, same thing. I refine ID, password. Oh, by the way, there's no antivirus installed. Okay, so they won't stop this. Okay, and upload to the server. Bingo, gone. It can happen behind the scene. Okay, let's see what happened. Okay, I on the server, right? I can play back the video that I just recorded. It's bad. Okay, it's bad. Okay, really bad. You can see I play back the video. You can imagine, right? They can do all this. What about the real hacker? They can do bad to you. They can get all your data. Okay, bad. Okay. Actually, we developed this software, by the way, so to show people that how can it be? Okay. Okay, next one, right? We talk about this has happened in what? In the day is June 17, not long ago. Okay, about a month ago. It's another big one. Okay, some of you may not notice because we are in the field. We get with this all the time. Now I want to share with you, right? Another important vulnerability that has been recently discovered. We believe that some hacker has already leveraged this major vulnerability to steal information. And since this vulnerability actually discovered by our partner in Norway, since this vulnerability has been reported to Google, okay, about a month ago, okay, it has been classified as a high risk and so bad, right? Google team, right, has immediately come up with a fix, but only to Android 9 and Android 10 operating system. There's no fix for anything prior to Android 9. Okay, so if you're running on Android 8 and below, right, you're really on your own. Okay, let me show you how bad. Okay, bad in a situation that you don't even know that the malware is installed on your phone, and then they can steal your information. I'll show you how they do it. Okay, no jailbreak, don't modify your app.
Today, mobile apps are coming under increasing malicious attacks and no one is immune. The Android vulnerability, dubbed as Strandhog, is an alert to all mobile app owners. Discovered by Praman, Strandhog allows real-life malware to pose as legitimate apps without users aware of it. This is the most challenging vulnerability as it has significant security impact on the users of Android phones. Hackers that make use of this Android vulnerability can plant a malicious app to replace the legitimate app permission pop-up with its own fake version.
Okay, what it's saying here, right? I can remotely control when you run the DBS app. Okay, I can configure. You pop this message. This message not from the bank's app, it's from the malware. And this malware don't have to be any unrooted device. That means you look like from the M-banking, right? But it's not actually from the vulnerability, from the malware. But how do you know as a layman? Usually I saw, oh, it's from the bank, right? I just hit okay. Then you allow the malware to get all the privilege to access your phone.
That seeks any access permission, including SMS, photos, microphone, GPS, allowing them to read messages, view photos, eavesdrop, and track the user's movements. Hackers can also trick your device so that when the app icon of a legitimate app.
Okay, this we call overlay attack. When you run certain banking app, right, the malware also can make it look like the banking app and run on top of the app and intercept your input. You thought you're talking to the legitimate app, right? Actually talking to the malware.
Is clicked, a malicious version is instead displayed on the user's screen. So if a mobile app is at risk to this vulnerability, the user's login credentials within this interface and sensitive details are immediately sent to the hackers. Why is this possible? StrandHog, with or without device root access, uses a weakness in the multitasking system of Android to enact powerful attacks that allows malicious apps to masquerade as any other app on the device. This exploit is based on an Android control setting called Task Affinity, which allows any app, including malicious ones, to assume any identity in the multitasking system they desire freely. Hackers can distribute malicious apps on Google Play or APK downloads on other websites. If any user downloaded it, it might impact on the legitimate apps on the same device. The consequences are stealing usernames and passwords, draining bank accounts, stealing private SMS messages and photos, spying through a phone's camera and microphone, tracking user movements and location, accessing user's contact list and phone logs. Enterprises, you can do your part to enhance the security level of your mobile app to protect your company and your users.
Okay, now you've seen some of this vulnerability are discovered in the recent weeks, right? And in fact, there may be more out in the wild, have not been discovered. My 2 cents advice from this, right? You must go shopping. Buy an Android phone with at least Android 9 or later. You can get away with some of this problem. And important, right? Like Prof Lam mentioned earlier, right? You download reputable software from trusted source like Google Play. You're not sure, right? Check with your friends. Okay, it's a very, very good source. Okay, they are very bad. Okay. Okay, then you ask, how about iOS, right? Apple must be better, right? Well, that's what we've seen. Okay. In fact, this one also discovered not long ago, maybe 2 months ago. Okay, let's see how bad. Okay, and in fact, the number of affected device, right? Also in terms of millions. Okay, let's listen to the story.
Apple is planning to fix a glitch that a security firm said may have left more than 500 million iPhones vulnerable to hackers. CEO of U.S. security company ZecOps, Zook Avram, said he found evidence that the bug was exploited in at least 6 cybersecurity break-ins as far back as January 2018. Apple acknowledged a vulnerability in its Mail app for iPhones and iPads and said it will be rolling out a fix for millions of devices. But Apple declined to comment on Avram's research that suggests the flaw could be triggered from afar and that it had already been exploited by hackers against high-profile users and a Fortune 500 North American technology company. Avram said a blank email message forced a crash and reset of the Mail app, which allegedly opened the door for hackers to steal data, such as photos and contact details, and possibly confidential messages.
Okay, now you see an app also part of this challenge that we deal with. Okay, so iPhone friends need to be aware of this problem. Okay, make sure that you have installed the latest software to fix the email problem. Okay, what about Microsoft Windows? I think many of us are running Windows today, right? I have something to show you. Okay, and one of the major concerns I also mentioned by Prof Lam, right, really ransomware. Malicious code injection. Okay, except the last one, right? These are all real-time attack. They don't need to modify your source code. And let me show you how they do it. Okay, some example as well. Okay, so let me kind of walk you through what we see here. Okay, on this side, okay, I have a malware. Okay, so what it can do actually, it can attack. In fact, this is running Microsoft Outlook. So I will show you how this can attack this one and start to do a lot of key locking with your email. Okay, let's see how you does it. Okay, You see that, right? The devil entered into. I think it's all real time. We don't have to modify the source code. It just and grab the process and see what happened. Okay. Now the devil's inside. They start to do key locking. Do a new email. You notice, right? You look at the malware. Whatever I type, okay, it happen. You see that? Real time. Again, it can be running from remote. I collect data, sent to the server. Okay. They say, how about my banking app is encrypted? Okay. You see what happened? Same thing. Okay, when they enter the screen, right, is a Java runtime. Okay, when you start to type, you see the password show up. Oh, someone said I have antivirus. Why does that happen to me? Okay, if I miss some of the leading software, F-Secure. We can also hack the F-Secure. See that? See the devil? That means I can also monitor some of the traffic inside there. Okay? The point I try to emphasize, right? All these are real, it's happening around us. Okay? How do you prepare yourself, right? That's why Prof Lam always emphasize, okay, on really hygiene, okay? And this time will show you, right? One-time code injection, right, is very common. Even one of your installed software is dead, right? You can affect all your software, just like the mobile example showed you earlier. You don't need, okay, one bad one can affect all your software. In fact, I don't even change your source code. So what I try to say, what I try to share, right, is the threat is real. Okay, you must practice good hygiene. Okay, prevent all this thing would happen to you. So this is another example here, right, on a browser. So you can see that as well. Okay, I'm running IE, and then I also run the app here. I'm going to pause a little bit here first to show you what we are doing here. So you can see some of these are transparent table. So I can also insert the traffic. So when you see the word love, this lowercase become kick. Okay, kick become love. Okay, what does it mean? Whenever you see, actually, you real time change the way you look at the data. All this without you knowing it. Okay. You thought you're looking at certain information. You thought you're looking at certain website, but totally changed. Okay. Also code injection. You inject into the browser. You do a love on Wikipedia, right? Hit enter. Okay, love, right? Hit love. It become kick. You see that? Amazing, right? Okay, again, it's real-time attack. You don't even know that you're walking looking at the wrong information. It could have bank. Okay? So some of these things is quite scary. And then try to go to a website, right? Drop in a website. We also do some filtering. You see that? Supposed to be European Commission, change to Japanese Commission. Come on, a lot more use of what they see. They won't notice the difference anyway. I also start to do key locking as well. So we try to do lock-in, right? Real time is a genuine website, but text can be changed. You see that? The password show up on the other side. Is it scary? It's very scary. No code change. Okay, you can see the password, right? The password is not secure. This is not secure. You see that? So the threat is real. Now it's really up to us. How do we handle this one? Yeah. Okay. So we look at really a lot of scenarios. It's good that we have very good regulatory agency, right? They put a lot of in place a lot of rule and regulation when you're dealing with critical service like the banks, like some government transactions. So I think we look at many risks. Okay, so we have identity risk, we have device risk, and transaction risk. when we're going through the remote channels. So these are we see all the time, right? Impersonation, just now I showed you, right? Man-in-the-middle attack. Okay, so we can really steal information, change the certain data. Those are possible. That's why we emphasize, right? We must have a different looking approach how we should protect, okay, our infrastructure, our environment when we're dealing with home-based work arrangement. Okay, so we can look at every user, every device. Of course, right, as a general person, okay, you better be about this, right? That's why you must work with your company, advise them, hey guys, you're looking at a better approach. You're not just looking at what we're doing the virus protection on the mobile. We're looking at the end-to-end infrastructure. Okay, so you're looking at different channel, right? You may have like a kiosk, phone channel, internet channel, but how do you protect? So in summary, right, I think there are a few areas we try to emphasize, right? Try to get a holistic picture to address cyber hygiene requirements. Okay, how do you protect the user, the password? How do I protect to make sure only the user, the legitimate user access to the service? The app may be secure, but how do you make sure that the other app, okay, the other bad app cannot go in? Okay, how do I protect data, file, talk about encryption? How to make sure, okay, it be difficult. Even though what you said, we are running in a not secure environment, how should the app behave? Okay, that's why organization need to put in place a plan, right? How do we protect the remote work arrangement? Okay, from different perspective. Okay, I'll end my call at this stage.
Thank you for supporting our event NTC, and thanks Albert for spending time contributing to our activities. Again, I chose this topic because we are NTC, the Nanyang Technopreneurship Center. We encourage entrepreneurships, and we also feel that startup founders, business owners should keep afresh with this latest development in the cyber hygiene in e-interactions. And so I hope this talk serves the purpose of bringing awareness of cyber security and cyber hygiene.